Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I need to address tonight the issue of criticizing CCC. In one of the comments I have received, the criticism I have received, have been accused of attacking the opposition, CCC, when it is the only hope for Zimbabwe. How could I sleep at night? I find this unbelievable. The problem with some people is that we've got this binary mentality where we we think the choice for the country is between Zanu PF on the one hand and CCC on the other. And so we convince ourselves that Zanu PF is the bad guys, which they are. And we're left with CCC. And they are the good guys then. They must be the good guys. Even if they do something wrong, even if we admit they failed, we must be able to somehow modify them, persuade them to change, so that they carry out that task as the good guys. This is a binary mentality. Mankind is a creature of reason. In a country with a population of 16 million, I find it absolutely shocking that anyone can possibly think that Nelson Chamisa and Emerson Mnangagwa are the only two possible leaders who can lead the country. Zanu PF or CCC must rule the country. Unbelievable. Look at the history of CCC. The people of Zimbabwe have risked life and limb to elect Nelson Chamisa and his MDC colleagues for the last 23 years with the primary purpose of, once they get into power, they will implement democratic changes. As the party name implies, Movement for Democratic Change. They launched the party in 1999 in response to the nation's need for democratic change, for the nation's need to have this democratic change to stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. After 23 years, they've not implemented not even one token democratic change. And therefore, then to be able to say, well, okay, they failed, let's look for somebody else to implement those reforms. People are thinking, oh no, we've got to look at MDC. They are our only hope. Only hope? They failed. And when you look at the details of how they failed, it's clearly a question of they are corrupt. Because make no mistake about it, Mugabe bribed them during the GNU to make sure that they do not implement even one meaningful reform. And it is because they're unbelievably incompetent that they didn't realize the importance of the reforms. Not even SADC, who nagged them for the 5 years of the GNU to implement the reforms, could get them to implement even one token reform. SADC did their best. When they realized that no meaningful reform had been implemented, they tried to get the 2013 election postponed. And they even told Morgan Tsvangirai and his MDC friends to their faces that if you do not implement the reforms, that you should postpone participating in the 2013 election because the elections are going to be rigged. The elections are done, they told them. But even that last minute ditch failed to produce any result with the MTC friends. They still went ahead and participated in those elections. And Zanu PF, of course, rigged them. And to keep on saying they are our only hope, it's a clear case cut of somebody who really are incapable of seeing the colors of the rainbow. They can only see things in black and white, right or wrong, bad or good. They've decided Zanu PF is bad, so Triple C is good. And they've got to run with Triple C no matter what. No wonder the country is stuck. If you look back before independence, it was the same mentality. For the first 20 years after independence, the same people treated Mugabe in the same way. He could do nothing wrong. To criticize Mugabe was a very risky matter. These people could not see how anyone could criticize Mugabe. He was infallible as far as they were concerned. It is that kind of mentality. He is only human, for Christ's sake. The country has got so many other people. That's why you open up your mind. If he has failed, you say he has failed. And you accept it and you move on. But to lock yourself into a position where you can only see two colors, black or white. If somebody is good, he can do no wrong. If he's bad, they cannot do anything right. That is the kind of mentality that has locked us into this kind of situation. MDC leaders have failed. They not only failed to implement the democratic reforms when they had the golden opportunity to do so, but they've compounded the situation by refusing to accept there is need to not to participate in an election until we've got meaningful reforms. And so now Zanu PF finds itself in a position where they know Triple C would participate in the elections regardless of how flawed the process gets. So all efforts to get reforms implemented are coming to nothing. Why should Zanu PF implement reforms when they know they can still get the opposition to participate and give them legitimacy? You can't blame them for that. But we cannot allow a situation where we are locked into this now totally meaningless situation cycle where for 43 years we've had rigged elections. And now Triple C, to justify why they keep on participating, they even lie. They even start talking of, we have got winning in rigged election strategies. And when you ask what those are, one of the flagship strategy was mass voter registration, followed by mass voting, and then protect the vote. That was doomed to fail from the word go. Because from past experience, we know ZEC, who are responsible for registering people, has always made it very difficult for the opposition to register their supporters. And it was clear they were going to do the same. And that is exactly what happened. Since 2018 to 30th of May last year, ZEC revealed that only 250,000 people had registered to vote. And this is where the opposition, CCC, had set for themselves a target of registering 6 million. So they only registered 4% of their target. So their mass voter registration was dead in the water. And people told them that, even when they were announcing it back in 2008, you will never get the 6 million voters registered. Even if you get the people registered, getting them on the voters roll is another matter. And ZEC has been known to register people, and then when the voters roll comes out, they are not on the voters roll. So it is totally meaningless to think that we can have free, fair, and credible election without reforms. And if CCC haven't got the intellect to accept that, then people have got to accept the reality and say, well, okay, if CCC cannot do it, let's look for somebody else who can get these reforms implemented, rather than say, oh, we have got to consider CCC as our only hope. Why should they be the only hope? Why lock yourself into a situation where you only see black and white when you're capable of seeing all the colors of the rainbow? I think this is the unfortunate reality of Zimbabwe. Until we can open up our eyes, until we can have the courage to say, okay, you have failed, we need to look for somebody else who can deliver the changes, the democratic changes we want, we are not going to get out of this mess. Zanu PF is counting on the opposition to participate in the election regardless of how flawed the process is. And by participating, they are giving Zanu PF legitimacy. And that means perpetuating the dictatorship. After 43 years of rigged elections, I think we should have the common sense to at least accept that CCC are not going to deliver the democratic changes. They've given up actually on reforms. They've given up on free and fair elections. They're only participating in this because Zanu PF is offering them a reward for participating. And we are foolishly participating because we believe they are our only hope. What a hopeless situation. This is tragic. When a human being who is supposed to be capable of thinking has reduced themselves to behaving like a garden slug that can only see no more than a few inches from his nose and can only see in black and white. It is a pity that some of our people have their brain is ossified to fatty tissue to the point where they cannot think. But as long as the country refuses to open, the people refuse to open their eyes and start thinking in a rational way, Zimbabwe is not getting out of this mess. The 2023 elections, we cannot stop Zanu PF rigging them. We cannot stop CCC participating in these flawed elections because they are after the few gravy train seats that Zanu PF is offering. But what we can do is make sure that everybody knows that the process is flawed and that CCC have sold out. They are no longer representing the ordinary people. And make sure that Zanu PF does not get legitimacy That is the number one issue we have got to go for. That is the holy grail. Deny Zanu PF legitimacy. You open the opportunity for the country to have a second GNU, and this time make sure we implement the democratic reforms, and we are back to holding free, fair, and credible elections. The people who will be appointed to implement those reforms cannot be Zanu PF nor MDC slash CCC. They were in the last GNU. They failed to implement even one meaningful reform. They should not be in the second GNU as well. We should look at getting other people, other Zimbabweans. Out of 16 million Zimbabweans out there, there will be countless, hundreds of thousands of Zimbabweans who are capable of implementing the democratic reforms. It's not as if they're rocket science. We are not the only country that has failed to hold free and fair elections. Other countries have faced the same problem, and they've been able to rise above it and get solutions to it. The requirements for free and fair elections are not rocket science. We can get people who can implement them. And to have the mentality that CCC are the only hope is a sign of somebody who really has got a binary mentality, who cannot think. What a pity. That is tragic. We need to get out of that hole, and we will get out of it. With that, thank you very much and good night.